What's up, guys? This is Justin Davis. I'm here with Brian Altano.
Hi.
And we are taking a look at the debut trailer for Infinity Blade 3.
We are.
This game was just announced at Apple's press conference, and the trailer actually has like a lot of sort of little secrets and little niblets in it.
Yeah, a lot of people remember Infinity Blade as sort of this game where you didn't have a lot of control of your movement, and you kind of walked down hallways and fought giant guys, and then died, and then did it again, and then died, and then did it again, and again, and again, and you were always avenging your father. So, tell me what we're looking at here, Justin. Are we going to be doing the same sort of stuff here?
So yeah, I mean, the basic gameplay is the same. You know, you're going to go around fighting these dudes. The big difference, and you'll see it, you know, as we sort of watch this trailer, is that this is much, much more story-driven than the other games were. There's voice acting. You got the voice of John Noble in the game. He's Denethor and the guy from Fringe.
Yep.
And so he is the voice of the new bad guy, the Worker of Secrets. He's let me see if I can find him. He's this dude. So that's the Worker of Secrets. You thought that you know, the guy in the first two games was sort of the big villain of the franchise, but now he's revealed himself as the big villain of the franchise.
The Walternate.
We're also seeing he's the Walternate. Look at this destroyed moon here. So these are things that if you paid a lot of attention in Infinity Blade 1 and 2, you would realize that the world was post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
There were like little hints and clues that this wasn't like a fantasy world. It was actually like sort of a futuristic world that was post-apocalyptic. And now in 3, they're not even bothering to hide this fact anymore. You have this little guy that tags along with you. He looks like a little robot companion maybe, or some sort of deal.
He's like a Sony Aibo. Robot dog.
The robot dog. I have a robot dog. And you'll see right now, if people are worried that they are recycling too many environments, this is actually sort of the main environment from Infinity Blade 2. You know, the main sort of tower that you're working your way through. 3 is full of like all new environments. They're really just kind of working you through 2 for the sake of this trailer.
Sure.
Like, just to sort of recap the story. And it looks like you do revisit it. It's all destroyed now. This was a really gorgeous like stained glass window that's all destroyed now. So, you know, it's showing that this takes place in the future, but I would say that most of the environments aren't really
Wow,
reused.
I mean, this game just looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
right?
It really is. You know, they announced at their press conference today that this game's going to support iPhone 4 and above, but depending on what generation of devices you're on, if you're on the new devices like the 5S, this game is going to have, you know, all kinds of graphical effects and things turned on that you won't get in the other versions.
Wow. I mean, this looks like a next-gen console game.
Yeah, it is very, very impressive. This is your hideout. This is another new feature in Infinity Blade 3, where now you have sort of a base of operations. Instead of having like this single tower that you're assaulting again and again and you loop through the game, now you have a hideout. And within your hideout, you have like sort of different characters. You have a blacksmith, and you have like a potion master. It's sort of your home base. And then from your hideout, you choose sort of what tower you want to assault.
Oh, cool.
You know, it's a little bit. You're still sort of going through a set story, but it's a little bit more nonlinear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the futuristic stuff is.
So this is kind of Assassin's Creed-y now all of a sudden, right? Where you have these sort of different timelines going on at the same time, where you have old sort of fantasy medieval stuff, and then whatever is going, like these kind of techno prisons.
Yeah, I mean, so in Infinity Blade 1, you thought you were, or maybe you were, I actually don't even remember the details of that game exactly, but you were your son, you were your ancestor.
Yeah.
So you would die, and then your descendant would come back and take your place and try to beat, you know, the final boss.
Yeah.
And then in Infinity Blade 2, it was you being reincarnated. When you died, you came back again to fight. And now in 3, we find out, see, now you see...
Oh, wow. There's your animus.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not reincarnation, it's not anything magical, it is technology. Like, you are brought back by technology every single time you die.
Wow.
And this was hinted at in 2. If you were paying attention in 2, you sort of resurrected in a room that looks sort of like this. But now they're just not bothering to really hide it anymore. Like, the tech stuff is really on the forefront. You can also see, that was a little sneak peek at Isa. She's the new playable character.
Oh, wow.
So you can play as the same guy from 1 and 2. And there's also a new playable character you can play as Isa this time around. And she's basically the same. Her skills are like a little bit different. This is Isa 2. You can see... You know, the characters will take their helmets off. They're a little bit more like real people now, you know, with full voice acting and all that good stuff. The basic combat is very, very similar. You know, the same swiping, the same sort of dodging the attacks.
Looks like she's got some ninja stuff.
Yeah, she's
a little more limber.
She controls a little bit different. Like, depending on how much Infinity Blade someone has played, you know, they'll notice differences. The big thing is she's like a thief character, so she starts out every single battle. I think it comes up here in the trailer. She starts out every single battle by shooting somebody with a crossbow.
Oh, cool.
And that's like her little tweak, is that, well, maybe we don't get to see it in the trailer. So let's go back and see some of these little scenes that are just
lots of really cool boss fights here.
So you can see that, again, we have more futuristic stuff in the background. She's wearing, they're not like modern, but like fairly modern clothing. It's not like medieval clothing. And, again, like your character sort of takes his helmet off, so he feels more like a real person now instead of just a, armored dude. And so you see, what I was going to say is that they're giving you a little sneak peek of the different towers you're going to assault.
Yeah.
And they're not all huge. I think there's like 8 or 9 or 10 of them in the game. And so it's not like it's 10 times the game that Infinity Blade 2 was. They're all a little bit shorter. But it's just to add more variety. Like, you have different places. Like, they all look different. Like, this one's got the cool marbled interior. And then, this one, it looks like it's more run down and sort of old.
Got some of these crazy, tortured-looking kind of bosses. Yeah, there's your crossbow.
Yeah, and so the two playable characters do feel different, but they're not, like, completely different from one another, or they don't have completely different play styles. And, like, one of her perks is that she hides at the start of every battle. Let me see if I can go back and find. Like, right here, you can see that, like, she's hanging out up there, and that enemy doesn't see that she's there. And then later on, that gives her an opportunity to start every battle with a crossbow. And then all that really does is they start with like 10% less health.
Sure.
Or something like that. Like, it just deals a little bit of damage.
Unless they catch it.
Unless they catch it. And there's sort of the world map. So
okay. So yeah, you can see
there's
like
all
1,
kinds of
2,
different
3,
towers.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, about 9 or 10 sections.
Yeah,
there's you count that island in the middle too.
Yeah, I think that's where you is in this island. Although I'm not actually sure. I can't get over how gorgeous this game is.
Yeah, seriously. This is a phone game. Like, remember a few years ago what that meant?
Exactly. Like, people are going to point out, like, maybe there's some jaggies in the environment, maybe the polygonal models aren't, like, as detailed as they could be, but this is a game that you can have in your pocket all the time. It just costs a few bucks. It costs $6.99. We're seeing new, there's not a ton of it in this trailer, but, like, some of the new magic effects. So this is a poison sword, so you can see it, dealing poison damage. And you can see a new, another new
This is a really cool environment here, yeah.
Sort of the Asian
The koi pond down there.
Exactly.
Catching blood.
Ice is ruthless. And here's sort of the biggest, if you hadn't caught it already in the trailer, this is sort of your biggest clue of all that this actually is in the future now. Oh, I'll come back to that. You do have a dragon boss fight this time around. It's one of those blink and you'll miss it moments.
Yeah.
We don't know exactly how that fight works yet, whether it is like a normal fight or, how that works. It looks like he's just sort of dodging out of the way here like a cutscene. Okay, here we go. There's another few seconds of the dragon.
And if you've never played an Infinity Blade game before, it's worth noting that all the different swords, you'll see like 75 different swords and shields just in this trailer alone. All those things you can purchase, and with in-game upgrade money, basically. I'm sure you can buy it with real money, too.
Yes.
But based on the last few, you could customize your helmet, your shield, your magic, your sword, like your armor, everything, your whole look and attributes and everything like that. And there were hundreds of different swords and shields to pick from. And then they would have seasonal items like, Halloween ones and just crazy stuff. Yeah.
That's like the whole thing that we didn't talk about in this trailer is that, they're wearing different armor and using different weapons in almost every single, like, scene of combat. Because that's the whole game. Like, when you equip new armor, equip a new sword, not only does it change how you play or change what your special ability is, but it's viewable on your character. So if you put on some crazy helmet, that'll show up in all the cutscenes.
Yeah.
Let me scrub back to, so right here, like, again, it's another one of those things that, like, it's not, like, shouting at you, like, hey, this is in the future. But, like, if you're paying attention, like, it also looks like that's the Earth.
Yeah, that is.
So they don't say, like, well, maybe they do in the game. We're not through the entire game yet. But it's not like, hey, this is Earth in the future. But it's there if you're paying attention. Yeah. That, that's what's going on here, that is a rotating glove there. And he has these sort of Minority Report style HUD elements, all around him. Yeah. With the John Noble Worker of Secrets.
Yeah. Wow. It's gorgeous looking. And, it's also worth repeating, if you haven't played one of these games and you're worried how something like this controls on something without buttons, Infinity Blade nailed it. Yeah. Probably almost better than any other game on the platform. Has just figured out how to do great combat, great touch controls on the iOS that I think if you try to do with you try to replicate that controller experience with other games, it doesn't really work the same. But I think these guys did a really good job of building a system from the ground up that just is awesome.
Yep, the slashing the screen to attack and tapping to dodge and all that stuff works really, really great. So the biggest surprise of all is that this game comes out next week.
Yeah. This is the joy of this platform, right? Is you didn't know something existed, and then a week later you're playing it.
Yep, that's exactly right. The game is done. It's finished. I'm sure it's in certification already, and now everyone's going to be able to get their hands on it on Wednesday. So, we're going to have much more on Infinity Blade 3 on IGN, and obviously all the hottest mobile games. So for all your video game needs, make sure you're keeping it locked to IGN.
Yeah.